Okay, I consider it's ready. I don't know where is the timer. So this is video for the teacher Juan Camilo Perez. And now I'm going to present the research that I have developed for this entire course and also for the career and for the master degree. So here is Max Steven Sanchez. He is the principal person of the Smart Minds English Club. He was the principal person who decided to create this club for students and also to help the people in order to increase the English language learning here in the region. So I'm going to present my research to him because he is the main person, and also because the students do not have the consent informed to be here in this dissertation of the research process. So welcome, Max. Thank you for being here too.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Marcel.
Now I'm going to present the research. Do you see my screen? Max, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the title of this research is Analysis of Communicative Strategies Used on Interactions Between Level A1 English Students and Native English Speakers at the Language Institute here in St. Augustine. I'm going to make you a little introduction. So students in rural Colombia rarely practice English in authentic situations. So this limiting the oral development. So Smart Minds English Club offers to students the possibility to interact with native speakers, that these show a positive effects on A1 students in fluency, vocabulary, and pronunciation. The research problem that I have established in this study is that due to a pedagogical gap that favors grammar over communication and limited functional oral proficiency, fluency, vocabulary, and confidence, there is a disconnection between learning and real-life application. And this hinders students' ability to use English in spontaneous context with native speakers. Why native speakers? Because here in St. Augustine, it is possible to interact with people who come from another countries. There are possibilities in the Smart Mind English Club to interact with them and put into practice the English language. So rise the research question: how does contextual communicative interaction with native speakers influence the oral production in English of A1 level students here in the Language Institute in St. Augustine? The main objective of this research was to analyze the impact of contextual communicative interaction with native speakers on strengthening the oral production with students in the students A1 level. And also was designed some specific objectives. That was first to characterize the initial level of oral production in English, and then formulate some pedagogical activities based on the contextual situations that we have. And after that, to identify changes in oral production, the strategies, and also how those activities help in the fluency, appropriate vocabulary use, and pronunciation. The literature review was focused on these three pillars: the oral communicative competence by Himes, that is the person who created communicative competence, and the oral communicative competence is like a branch of the big tree that is communicative competence. Hines proposed to move beyond grammar to include meaning, context, and interactions. Also, important roles on motivation and self-efficacy, shaping by the idea that self-efficacy shape students' confidence and fluency in oral tasks, and motivation that acts as the driving force that sustains the second language learning. The oral pillar is the sociocultural theory by Vygotsky, and other researchers like Samperio, Toledo, that confirms the importance of learning strategies to better performance in the process of English language learning. So after doing this analysis on the state of the art of my research, clear research gap, that is the limited studies examining how A1 students learn, interact with native speakers in authentic context. And also there are a limited research analyzing the communicative strategies students that they use during real-time interaction with native speakers. Some theoretical framework. After doing the analysis of the literature review, this study is guided by the following key theoretical constructs that are authentic communicative interactions, referring meaningful for the native speaker interactions in the contextual real life, the significant learning in real context. Learning is more meaningful when connected to real experiences with learners. So this is regarding with the constructivism and situated learning. Also, the immersion areas like tourism in San Agustin provide natural spaces for meaningful English use. Then, the motivation as a driver of second language learning, motivation influence, willingness to communicate. Here we have also the sociocultural theory by Vygotsky that said that the zone of proximal development, the interaction with native speakers develop this zone of proximal development, that learning occurs through scaffolding plus social participation. And then the situated learning and communicative practice. Smart Minds offers a community practice in which reinforce this situated learning. Learners is enhanced when students engage in meaningful and real communicative communities. I'm going to talk about the methodological design of this research, and the approach is qualitative to deeply study language in use, focusing on meaning and context, not just in numbers. The research design is descriptive ethnographic that allows for the observation, the analysis, the spontaneous communicative practices in real scenarios. Also provides a holistic, contextualized understanding of how students negotiate meaning and adapt strategies in order to adequate their process of English language learning. The ethnographic design is used in educational context because several research said that we as teachers, we are ethnographers at all because we are immersed in our context with our students. And we, for instance, we can observe and capture gestures, pauses, repetitions, challenges that students have. So in this term, the ethnographic design also integrates the action research, not only because the ethnographic design just describe the things, but in this case, we need to integrate something more that was to analyze and apply an activities in order to enhance in the students' their communicative abilities and observe how those activities influence the process of English language learning. For instance, the instruments were participant observation, field diaries, semi-structured interviews, pre and post interactions. Remember that the population are students of the Smart Mind English Club. The sample were 12 students belonging to the A1 level, intentionally selected. Based on criteria such as consistent attendance, active willingness to participate in communicative interactions, and continuity in planned sessions. I designed this timeline in order to show you how was the data collection developed. So this research was developed about 8 weeks. The first week was exploring and then adapting and applying some strategies. In the second week, students interact with the first native speakers was Sandra from Netherlands. The third week, they reflect about the interactions and express their difficulties, strategies, and also reinforce new vocabulary. In the fourth week was our second encounter with Sarah from New Caledonia, Australia. The unit 2 of this timeline was to talk about the market here in St. Augustine, how to buy or sell things. Students practice thus vocabulary, and in week 6, students talk about traditions, festivals, dances, and interact with Sofia from Russia. In 7th week, students practice about history and archaeology, using archaeological vocabulary in the regional heritage. And in the 8th week was the grand final day in which students were immersed into a guide tour. In this case, was with Dennis from Germany. They interact in the main park and also in the market here in St. Augustine. Descriptive analysis. So the data analysis procedure. This study was a descriptive analysis. First, I organized the data, making the transcriptions, the codes, and categorize the data using open coding and actual coding. Then validates the data, making a triangulation, and then systematically present the data. So the data analysis found different categories like oral comprehension and initial interactions, communicative strategies, didactic strategies, and improvements in oral production aptitudes. And also emerged from the analysis of the categories and actual coding, the verbal fluency, pronunciation, proper use of vocabulary, communicative confidence, and conversational initiative. In the communicative strategies here, we are going to highlight the verbal and non-verbal strategies that students use, and also the collaborative learning. Improvements in oral production was the fluency, increases vocabulary and confidence in intrinsic motivation. Here is the systematization of the research categories. We're focused on the 3 specific objectives. Here appears the categories, the oral comprehension, for example, didactic strategies and communicative strategies here. The subcategories, verbal, non-verbal, and pragmatic. The dimensions, rephrasing, repetition, clarification, gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, for example. And then here are the codes for each student after doing the codification of the instruments that were applied. The discussion of the results. There were changes in oral productions, key points, for example, more confidence, initiating conversations, longer turns, reduction of pauses and fillers, improved pronunciation, for example, intonation and endings. The students report, for example, I speak more real English now than that I can apply what I have learned before with people that use the language in real context. Mm, about the interviews, students report lower anxiety and more motivation because the interaction with native speakers increase in them the motivation and feel like that they can apply what have learned before with people from around the world that use the English or are native in English, are native English speakers. And also regarding the sociocultural dimension, because um, students describe local celebrations, share their culture, and also they ask to speakers about the cultures of other countries and make that integration of the cultures of other countries. Active negotiation of meaning, gestures, paraphrasing was also observed. Awareness of cultural differences, greetings, courtesy norms, development of intercultural openness and empathy with others. There were also research limitations like sometimes there is a subjective bias because the researcher was so close to the community of the students, but those was mitigated by the triangulation, a rigorous comparison of the three distinct data resources, the field diaries, the observations, and also the interviews. So making the transcription of the actual coding, ensure the transparency by explicitly classifying and interpreted segments. Another limited was the small sample size. And also the short period of time. So some recommendations for other researchers about this topic is to make a longitudinal study about 6 or 1 year in order to continue observing if these interactions with native speakers influence in a good way or in a process of students learning English in a positive way. And also including IA tools if those interactions have the same positive effects on the students. Another recommendation is to use, for example, mixed methods, quantitative and qualitative research in order to have a broad expansion of the study. So as conclusion, there are positive pedagogical effects on the students, and there are interaction. Real context interaction is an effective pedagogical strategy, shifting learning from memorization to functional competence. For example, students use paraphrasing, gestures, verification, questions, confirming confirming if the things that they have said was correct or not. Also, also the confidence in fluency, the possibility of making mistakes without any negative consequences create a safe climate, reducing fear and failure and anxiety. And also the sociocultural transformation. This is from Versace, validate the intercultural dynamics, negotiation, costumes, cultural identity, reflection, promote meaningful and lasting learning without relying only on technology, for example. And that's all the things that we have made on the process of research using the Smart Minds English Lab uh, as a as space that bring us the opportunity to develop this study. So that's all, Max, that I have made in your institution.
Thank you, Marcela, for this space. And well done. It's amazing job.
Okay. And that's all, dear teacher. I'm gonna, ¿dónde tengo la? Dejar de compartir.